What is up? It is Triumph Nation Live TNL show, episode 7. Can you believe it's been 7 episodes yet?
It has. I'm lucky number 7.
It is lucky number 7. And because of that, we're turning the tables, and I'm going to be the host, and Hollie will be the co-host, because I want to interview Hollie today because you guys are going to really get to know her on a level that I know her at least a little bit, and the amazing person that she is and the journey that she has been on for the 18 plus years I've known her, which seems like a lot, but it seems like it went by in a flash. And we're calling this episode from makeup magician to mommy makeover. So with that prelude, this is the Triumph Nation live show, which is part of our group Triumph Nation, which our goal is to provide health and happiness for purpose-driven, time-starved people so that they can live a healthier, happier, and longer life to have the impact and legacy that they deserve and they want. So this has been an amazing group. We're almost at 1,000 members now, and we're just getting started. So from that group, we've actually had 25 people now sign up for our Year of Life coaching program. And so just been a lot of cool things happening. Today, I'm going to ask you lots of questions.
Oh, no.
So I want to just tee it up, though, because everybody, and we talk about this all the time, see what they think and what is labeled in the media as an overnight sensation, overnight success story. And just last weekend, you were listening to Stephen Furtick, and you can kind of chime in with that. But nobody sees the journey behind the overnight success. And that's what we're going to dig in today with your journey. But you had some great thoughts on that concept, just in general, that we can tee this episode up, because everybody, we suffer from imposter syndrome, keeping up with the Joneses, all those things where we just like feel insignificant. And it's really what we don't realize, that person might have been 20, 30 years in the making to get to that overnight sensation. So when you have that perspective, you can kind of realize that all this hard work, all the shit, all the troubles that we go through day in and day out might be worth it if you are on a purpose-driven path. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny. I actually talked about this earlier today, and I put this on my social media post. All of a sudden usually happens gradually. And it's interesting because you can use that for good and bad. All of a sudden, 20,000 followers on Facebook. All of a sudden, I was able to speak on camera when I wasn't able to before. All of a sudden, there's different things you can say. All of a sudden, with life circumstances, all of a sudden we went bankrupt. All of a sudden, my husband and I got divorced. All of a sudden, the kids were 18. No, it's a gradual thing. Sometimes it may seem like it's all of a sudden to some people, but usually, things build up over time. So if you're trying to get somewhere really, really fast and it's taking you a long time, just remember the person you're comparing it to didn't all of a sudden get there. They had a journey as well.
Great tee up. And a lot of people know you to some degree. They see your funny, humorous reels, your insights, your interviews on your Shift Happen show. And, quite frankly, I think that could drive some people to jealousy or envy or, wow, she's an overnight sensation. But today I want to kind of dig back to 2005, 2006.
Oh, that's really far back.
Yeah.
Woo, okay.
I was a young stallion, a young buck, and a personal trainer at a gym. I turned the corner, and there's this beautiful girl staring at me, pedaling the recumbent bike at about 40 RPMs. And if you don't exercise, 40 RPMs, like the normal speed is like 85 to 100. So it was like
I probably didn't even have it turned on. It probably was not. I probably didn't even hit the start button.
So I was like, that was my first conscious view of Hollie, and she made a significant first impression. And I don't even know if I've told you that, but I was like, whoa, who is that? And, and it wasn't just because you were pedaling the bike very slowly, but that's how it kind of all began. And kind of a funny story. You can tell your version, I'll tell mine. But why don't you tell your version first of how we officially met and got to go out on our first date?
Oh, how we officially met when you said I can do your makeup and I said you don't need much?
Yes. That was a prelude to me building up the courage to ask you out.
Or when I was staring at you at the gym all the time and I wouldn't stop staring, you're like, who's this weirdo?
So for everybody's benefit, I was a very busy trainer at a commercial gym in the 2000s, fully packed, people everywhere. And I'd have sometimes 10 to 15 clients a day. And one of the ways I entertain myself is when anybody made eye contact with me, it was just a little game I played in my head. I'm like, I'm not looking away first. And in most cases, it would be milliseconds to a second. And they would just kind of look away, like awkwardly and obviously, like look away. And so that time I turned the corner and there she was, Hollie, on the recumbent bike in front of me. She looked at me this way. I was walking across her path and her eyes followed me. I'm like, all right, game on. Eye contact's made. I'm not looking away. And like, she literally, I'm going to reenact it. She was like, all the way around until I got to the point where I'm turning the corner and I'm like, my head couldn't turn any further. She didn't look away. I didn't look away. And I was like, well, that was different. And that's the best way I can describe Hollie is she is so different and it's in such a good way. So,
and I don't quit. I'm not a quitter. Like literally, I'm like, I'm not looking away. I'm not looking away.
When I said so that led to, a couple interactions at the trainer's desk and the front desk. And then finally, I was like, she's very interesting and I need to ask her out. And
my tongue out at you.
One of my clients who lived vicariously through me was like, dude, you need to ask her out. So she was on the elliptical behind the row that we were in on treadmills. And I asked him, Dennis, his name was, and I was like, Dennis, you want to see the alternate choice close? And he's like, yeah. And so I literally jumped off the treadmill right onto her elliptical, like face to face, like this close. And I was like, hey, do you want to go to a restaurant opening on Saturday or to a microbrewery friends party on Friday? And you were like,
Friday. No, Saturday. No, Friday. Can I get back to you?
Yeah, that was exactly how she said it. And I was like, all right, so you're saying yes, and we'll figure out the details later. So, and we ended up going out on a Friday night, and she ended up spilling her drink on me, which was an omen because on our wedding night, she spilled in the same place, the same type of drink she spilled on herself. So I thought that was like full circle from our first date to our wedding night. But pretty cool. So you were 22 at the time. And 3 years into your makeup career, is that correct? You started when you were 19?
19. Gosh, it was only 3 years in. Wow.
So you probably can't tell, but there's an age difference between us. And at the time, it was probably more noticeable because she was 22 and I was 36, 37. And but here's the deal. Like I was dating pretty actively, and Hollie at 22 is more mature and established than the 30-year-old women I was dating. And she already owned her own home. She owned her car with no payments. She had a successful career, and she had really cool parents. Yeah. So she had all the things that were on my checklist for continuing the journey with her. And ultimately that led to me on my knee on top of the Eiffel Tower at the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. I call it the poor man's Eiffel Tower because I couldn't afford to fly
Vegas is pretty
to Paris.
expensive.
Vegas was expensive enough.
Mm.
And I don't remember what I said, but she said yes. I remember that part. And then they kicked us off the Eiffel Tower. Remember that?
Yes. I was like, what? We didn't even taken our picture yet.
Yeah. They're like, congratulations, but you guys got to leave. We're like, no, we're just in the moment. But from that point, you're kind of watched, and I got to witness your career progress from basically an apprentice working for somebody else to what I call the makeup maestro, master magician of all things. And, Hollie really achieved in makeup. I don't have the statistics, but I always tell people you're probably in the top 5% of all makeup artists in the country in terms of success, however you want to define it, whether it was your income or your clients. And I even remember with Home Shopping Network where you had your personal clients, and Home Shopping Network has their own makeup department that they fund. But anytime they had a heavy hitter come in, like Dr. Oz or Alyssa Milano or Cheryl Teagues or Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, like they would reach out to Hollie and be like, we need you. We want to make a great first impression. And so that kind of she would never talk about that. She's very humble and modest, but I was always like, there's some fringe benefits. We got to go to a Super Bowl party. She worked as a makeup artist for the on-air Super Bowl people for Super Bowl week when I was here in Tampa Bay. And we got to go to a really cool party and do some backstage stuff. But tell us everybody just a little bit about your career from your perspective. From my perspective, you were just insanely successful. And we'll get into why the outside looking in doesn't always really communicate how you would define success. But tell us about what you were feeling as a makeup artist in your career. Did you feel successful, or is that just my opinion?
Oh, this is really hard. This is so funny. You guys, I'm an emotional person. If you don't know that, so I'm probably going to cry a lot on here, especially talking about myself. I don't know if anyone struggles with this, but it feels weird when Matt's saying how successful I was. I'm like, oh, I'm just me, and it's like, I am just me, right? And I'm just using the tools that God gave me to be a better me. And I feel like I'm getting better all the time because of people like Matt. No, God brought us together to really help us become the people that we were meant to be, and we are better together. So as a makeup artist, I felt like I was just doing what I love to do. And I'm not obsessed with makeup. I'm not obsessed with hair. I'm obsessed with helping people feel beautiful and confident. So what was really fun for me is I got to get people ready before they went on air and did some pretty significant things, whether it was selling something for the first time. Like I had people who had never been on TV before, and I got to really walk them through helping them be confident before they went on air, and really just help people feel beautiful. I love doing weddings, regular people on weddings. And it was because I'd have a mom look at me. They'd put the mirror up. My favorite thing, I wouldn't let them see until the very end. And they'd put the mirror up and go, oh, I've never felt so beautiful. Thank you. And like that is worth all of it. So for me, I enjoyed the industry I was in for so long because the people aspect of it. And that also made it really hard. That was like the hardest part of my job and the best part of my job. And was I successful? I feel like I did a really good job at what I did because of my personality, because, the artistic ability that I did have and willingness to learn and grow. And really doing things for my clients. I can read people really well. So I was able to be there for them and just kind of like be there, just like their safe haven. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think I was pretty good at what I did. And I think it was because I really loved what I did.
And from the outside looking in, like I said, anybody would define you as a success. People were flying you around the world, literally internationally, to Greece and London and Canada and beyond. So, from all things outwardly, it looked like an amazing, successful career. But where I want to kind of pivot now is like somewhere inside of you was a disconnect, an incongruence between, and maybe you can share the story better than I remember, but I know at some point in your teenage years, there's a decision or a voice that wanted you, like your calling or your purpose you felt was, or your desire, your why, whatever. I want you to put it in your words, like you had this passion or connection with being a mom. And I feel like at some point in your career, there was like this resentment that was starting to boil, or like a steam cooker, or a teapot. And I don't know if it was because it was pulling you away from that. And, that of course manifested in our relationship. I could, increasingly feel the tension. So I wanted you to kind of walk through what you were feeling as best you can. I know it's difficult. And then we're going to transition to, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. And you're going to want to stick around, because we're hoping that we're going to connect the dots for some of you to a life of purpose and fulfillment that's just sitting inside you, and you may not even know it yet. So that's coming. But before we get there, let's talk about the journey before the journey. What were you feeling at the time? Because you were making lots of money and you were supporting our family, but something was missing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to try to keep it together because it is really emotional, because, I felt like I was in a place where there was no out, and I didn't know what else to do, because I went to high school, I went to hair school, went straight into the TV industry, phenomenal career. And I was so grateful for that. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a good news girl, positive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think of the grateful things. So the good news is that's what kept me sane, is because I was so grateful and so thankful for my career. So grateful and so thankful for the opportunities I had, my clients, the money that I made. I mean, you make stupid money as a makeup artist, right? Like if I wanted to, make a lot of money, you can do it in the makeup artist industry. So all of the boxes were checked. What box wasn't checked? Sorry.
I'm intentionally not looking at you on the screen. I'm looking at the camera hole, because if I look at you, I'll start crying. One of us can't be crying because we have to talk.
I got this. What box wasn't checked? The box that I'd always wanted, like the box that was in my soul that I was meant to do, to be a wife and to be a mother. So I didn't have kids for someone else to raise them, but I was in a situation that I did not know there was another way, right? Providing for the family, financially providing for my husband's dreams, opening the gym, writing books, doing seminars, like all the things that I know that he wanted to do. And I love him so much that I would have done anything to help him get there. And I did. I stayed because I knew that I was helping my family. But a part of that was also destroying it in a weird way. But I didn't know there was a way out. The amount of resentment that I had built up for my husband was deeply affecting our relationship. And it's not like he was doing anything wrong, but then I felt like it wasn't fair to me. Like, wait, why do you get to live your dreams? Why do you get to be home with the kids when I'm somewhere else? Why do you get to have all these daddy dates? And like the resentment kept building. And it was hard to notice because I love you so much. Like I love so much about you. Like there's so many good things that when this, all of a sudden resentment builds, right? All of a sudden it happens. It's like the slow build of resentment. And like any issue we'd have would be like a massive, like build up, like a massive wall that would put in front of us because of that resentment. Right. So, not being able to be the mom that I wanted to be ever since I was a little girl, like is devastating. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. So
do you feel like that was escaping that opportunity? And we're getting to the 7 babysitters on rotation when we get into the good news, but I just really want to connect the dots with that inner voice, because I feel like you had a moment at some point in your teenage years where you were like, that was your purpose, or at least I don't know if that was a goal, or like you felt like God put you on the planet to be a mom.
Oh my gosh, 100%. That was my life. I was gonna be a mom. like career day, like in second and third grade, like in elementary school, we used to have career day. And literally I dressed up as a mom. And this is how like so insecure I was. Like, guys, the person you see in front of you is so different than who I was even when I met my husband. I was so insecure that I dressed up and people were asking, well, where are you? And I'm like, well, I'm a mom. I want to be a mom. And I was getting made fun of. So then I changed it to a teacher. I'm going to be a teacher. Like, I distinctly remember this. It's like second grade because I was like, well, I just want to be a mom. Like, I want to be a mommy. Like, I've always wanted to be a mommy. I had my baby doll. I literally dressed up my cat, Jaguar. And I used to put her in the stroller. Like, I had all these baby dolls and I loved nurturing and taking care of people. Like, I know it's my purpose. And it's not a mom just to our kids, but a mom to many. Anyone who knows me, I'm like, yeah.
Wow. I think there's one more piece of the backstory I want to share before we get to the phone call in December of 2019 that maybe changed everything for you and for us.
Stop it. You're not supposed to be crying.
I'm looking at the camera hole, not at you. Anybody that hasn't been doing like live streams, most of the time, if it looks like somebody's eyes aren't connecting with you, it's because we're looking at them on the screen, not you on the camera hole. But I think, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, Hollie, but I've shared it with my friends and in conversations just from my awareness from the outside looking in. A lot of people, we have blind spots, and it's things you don't realize about yourself, but other people can clearly see. And Hollie is like the classic story, the fairy tale of the ugly duckling.
Oh.
And if you remember the story, it's like the ugly duckling was ugly because it was different. It was the beautiful swan that was living amongst the ducks. So the swan looked different, but eventually, the rest of the story, the swan grows up to be this beautiful, majestic creature, and they don't realize that because they're swimming among ducks. And I've always felt like maybe as you were growing up, you stood out, and in your own way, it kind of created some insecurities that you've been able to work through this process of fulfillment that we're going to dive into next. So that's, some people may be able to relate to that. When we talk about this a lot in our coaching, as well as with my clients and with our friends, even in our family, we're so quick to beat ourselves up and focus on what we don't have, or focus on, we can channel our conscious minds into whatever perceptions we want. And somebody's looking at you and they may be admiring you, and you're thinking, oh, think my clothes look weird, or they're noticing my, gray hairs in my beard or whatever. So, that's just a little bit of the backstory. So I think Hollie coming out of that and having this successful career, she got hired because she was personable, likable, beautiful, and she cared about people. And that's like an amazing combination. And we all have that capacity inside of us. And it just sometimes takes somebody to bring that out of us. And that's where a phone call in December of 2019 started this journey that I'm going to call the journey of fulfillment, and the rest of the story. And Hollie always loves to, look at the glass half full, or the good news is in any situation. And I'm kind of cut from that same cloth, where my saying is, make lemonade out of lemons, or joy in the storm. But it's the same philosophy that regardless of the circumstances, things could always be worse. And, we all have something or someone or some things to be grateful for. So I'll never forget the day in December of 2019. Like Hollie said, she was always supporting me and everything. I had this really long-term, realistic goal, to become an overnight sensation. I was aware enough that you got to pay your dues. I have to write a book for credibility. I have to gain experience. And now, 24 years later, I have the experience and the credibility and the, testimonials to be one of the best health coaches in the country. But, I had that long-term vision, but, while we're going through it, now's when we get to finally reap the benefits, and having a supportive spouse to journey through that with me. I knew she was that type of person. And that's why I got down on my knee, because I knew it would take somebody like that to support me on this journey, because most people aren't going to tolerate it or understand it or, be patient with it. So kudos to Hollie, everybody. And you can be that kind of person too. We all have that capacity within us. But let's get to December 2019. I think it was like 7 phone calls or something. A friend of yours that you met at HSN in the TV industry was blowing up your phone. So walk through that experience and, kind of the story you love to tell, or you've told a lot of times now. I love hearing it every single time. So tell it again, please.
Tell it again. Play it again. So it's interesting. As you were talking earlier, you were talking about when people see other things. I'd like to go back really, really quick. When I first started doing makeup, I was super, super shy. I never talked to anybody. Like literally, I was so quiet that my mentor came up to me and she's like, Hollie, you got to start talking. People think you're snobby. I was like, oh, me? I was like, no.
Me?
Like, me? Like little me? And then she taught me how to start talking to people. Because guys, I literally wouldn't talk to, like, my head down walking. I'm that kid with their book bag on, the head down looking and like looking at the floor. So that was like my first journey of like actually talking to people. So I'm going to bring this into the next part. So makeup artist industry. So my friend Christy, she took her 5 times to get a hold of me because I was on and off planes. So the 4th quarter of my makeup artist career, 2019, was insane. I was not home. Phenomenal, amazing. The good news is a lot of cool experiences, but I was burned out. Nobody knew this because I'm a very positive mindset person, burnt out. And I didn't really have a social media presence. Why? I didn't really need one. My friends and family. And so when she contacted me, she finally got a hold of me and she shares with me a brand that she's launching. Hollie, you'd be perfect. Oh my gosh. I just saw you lost a bunch of weight. Your husband's done magic with you. That's when you got me into shape. I follow Matt's programs, by the way. I'm spinning. That's how I look the way I do. It's because I need this guy. Otherwise I can't do it on my own. So he helped me. I'm like, help me. So anyways, she saw my before and after and she's like, you have to launch this with me. And of course I told her no, because, a smart, busy businesswoman, smart, not so smart. So, and she's like, you don't even know what you're saying no to. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Guys, don't say no to something before you know what you're saying no to. Make an educated decision.
Can I raise my hand on that?
Yeah.
Because I just called somebody out, like, in marketing, like we send these ads out and, we pay people to write this endearing ad copy, and then people raise their hand and say, I'm interested in what you're offering. And then we try to reach them and then they're like, stop, they're like, I'm not interested. I'm like, so I'm just say what you just said. I'm like, you don't even know what you're saying you're not interested in. Like, at least figure, don't, we owe it to ourselves to pursue information to make good choices.
Make an educated decision. Guys, you have no idea what you're passing up by saying no to something. You have no idea what you're saying no to.
Yeah. And I mean, even your faith journey, the trigger was like, by not making a decision,
you're making a decision.
Right.
Oh,
and so it's like, whoa. So finally you had the conversation.
She's like, you don't even know what you're saying no to. So I looked and, like, I'm going to tell you guys, when you see something and that something provides hope, even if it's a little glimmer of hope, that is what can change everything for you. Let's start crying again. I laugh when I get nervous. So you guys, why I giggle a lot. So literally I had an overwhelming sense of hope of like, wait, what did you just say? So she explained to me what the company was, what we're doing in the beginning. This could be really big for you. And I'm like, oh, now I'm listening. And she said, you can help people to impact people. She spoke to my heart.
And you can work from home.
And you can work from home. And that's what gave me, I was like, ring my ears, I'm listening. So I had a conversation with another partner that's helping launch the brand. And before that, I actually got on my hands and knees and prayed with a friend because I said, you know what, my best friend Lori, I said, I need you to come pray with me because I have a feeling something big is about to happen, and I need God to tell me if it's a yes or a no. So prayed on my hands and knees beforehand and got on a Zoom with one of the brand partners, and literally, as clear as day, the Lord's like, yes. And I said, she had said something. I'm like, that's all I need to know. I'm in. And it was literally guided our path to where we are. And it's like, I can't. Oh, can I tell you one thing I said to Christy? I said, okay, I'll join you. One condition. I'm never going to get on camera. I said multiple conditions. I will never get on camera. I will never talk in front of anyone. I do not want to take pictures of myself. I want to be behind the scenes. I love building businesses. I love encouraging people. I want to let them shine. She goes, awesome, great, no worries. You never have to do it. I'm like, yes. She goes, but can I ask you a question? I was like, sure. Are you willing to learn? Guys, that is one of the most significant questions, A, you can ever ask somebody, and B, ask yourself. Are you willing to learn? Are you willing to grow? Because I'm a growth mindset, fudge. I was like, yes, I am. Because
What's the opposite of growth mindset?
Fixed mindset.
Good answer.
So there was a part of me that I didn't want to acknowledge that actually did want to learn how to do this, because knowing you're not living up to your potential is called anxiety. Knowing you're not living up to your potential is called anxiety. So there was a part of me that had a desire to learn, and that anxiety of not knowing I'm not living my purpose to my full potential. It's pretty powerful when you got something in front of you that says, are you willing to learn?
Yeah. And this was the cool part for me. And, knowing that Hollie supported me, I was conscious the whole time of the support that you were giving me and supporting our family. When the income of launching your business, if you are out there thinking you want to launch a business, really think it through, because it's challenging. But what was cool is Hollie had this opportunity and embraced it, and all the requirements for her to be successful in what is basically a direct marketing, network marketing, where you have to connect with people. And in today's day and age, that's on social media, and you got to be on camera, you got to speak in front of people, which, I knew Hollie was definitely afraid of. But watching her embrace that, and it actually was at our grand opening, which was in January of 2020. So that was December of 2019. Here's somebody definitely afraid of speaking with, in front of people. And then we had an audience of 289 people for our grand opening, and we were both excited. And, this was my field of dreams, the third iteration of us growing and expanding in a facility that we could truly be successful at least I believed in my heart of hearts. And we had an amazing turnout after 3 months of planning and preparation. And we raised money for charity and did a lot of cool things, live music. And I had the live musicians perform this song called Glimmer in the Dust. And it was all about hope and, people alone and just, not having anybody support them. And that was kind of the calling that we have, to help people, and just speaking to an audience and trying to explain what we meant by impact and this calling to provide hope. And I just couldn't get it out. I was emotional, and like Hollie's getting emotional, and I could easily get emotional right now, but I'm talking really fast so I don't. And I just couldn't talk. I was so emotional and crying and just overwhelmed with tears, knowing the journey that led to that point. And here we are with a lot of people that we could help. And here comes this beautiful girl, afraid of talking in front of people. Her love for me stood heads above the fear of speaking, and she grabbed the mic and delivered the message that I was trying to deliver. And that was really cool. And I think that was an omen for things to come, because now not only is she speaking in front of people, like she's getting requested to speak in front of people. And what I want to finish kind of on this journey of fulfillment was you didn't know you had this gift, and it took that phone call, it took you saying yes, took you walking into an opportunity with faith and listening to that internal voice. And I want you to speak to the process you worked with. Like, it wasn't overnight. You worked with coaches, you paid for coaches, you had mentors, and you embraced the fear. You like overcame it and just stepped up to the plate every single time. And it just, through that process of walking in faith and overcoming fear, you've discovered, not from your own discovery, but from everybody telling you, myself included, your coaches, everybody in your company, which he rose very quickly to become a pioneer partner, which is like the top, the first 20 people to help build this brand. But you've been told by people in speaking and podcasters that you have this amazing gift. And I've witnessed it. Like, I always tell, the way I tell people is like, to deliver a message like how I deliver, I would have to practice for months. And like, she'll prep for 20 minutes and like the Holy Spirit just speaks through her and she delivers this impactful message. So it's fun as your husband watching you
Yay.
into this gift that you have, embrace it, and now you're impacting people on such a massive level with all the things that you're doing. And part of that process was, us getting to a point where we can now work together in this Triumph Nation, the thing we're speaking on right here, right now, in our coaching program. And it's just been, that's the journey of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And what we started with, this, however you said it better than I can say it, all the 16 years that led to this point. So speak to kind of that, walking in fulfillment and embracing those ideas. And when did you know that you had this gift?
Oh my gosh, not like recently. So I'm a little bit stubborn in some ways, especially when it comes about beliefs, your belief systems. You have to like get over your BS. You have to get over. One of the questions that I do want to ask our viewers is, what are you willing to do to become the person you know you are meant to be? And for some people, they're not willing to do a lot, and they're not willing to stretch because it hurts, and that's painful. And some people want to be comfortable; they don't like the hurt. I would challenge you to be okay with that pain, just like when you're working out. When you're lifting a heavy weight, you're ripping your muscles, right? And then they grow back together and they heal. That's how you get stronger. So I promise you, the more you exercise this muscle of fear, the things that you're afraid of, that you should be doing, the stronger you're going to get. I've gone through impact presentations twice through Dale Carnegie Institute twice. And the first time I had to talk in front of people, you want to know how many there were? 5. You want to know what I had to do? Say my name. Do you know how well that went? I literally stood up, started hysterically like crying. They had to turn the camera off. I couldn't even say my name in front of 5 people. Okay. That's scared. That's fear. And it's not even real. But guess what happened after I said it? They calmed me down. And then I went again. And then I was fine. So it's interesting. The first time you do something, you're probably going to fall flat on your face. You're going to get a boo-boo, put a little Neosporin on it, put a Band-Aid on, just keep going because it's going to heal and it's going to make you stronger. Okay. So going through that process of, learning how to get in front of people has just opened up such a massive door that I would never in a million years ever expected. Right. So I want to encourage you guys to do things outside your comfort zone, because you never know the person you're meant to be until you start walking in it. And it feels pretty damn good when you start walking into the person you're meant to be. So I already forgot your question. I was getting emotional. So
I was asking, in this journey of fulfillment, from your perspective, overcoming fear, I think it would be appropriate to, just like being a parent, we always say it takes a village. Besides your own realization and you knew you needed to do some work and you needed help, but you're embracing it. But let's talk about the coaches and the mentors that, pride oftentimes, like, we want to say, I got this, I can figure it out. But I'm telling you, as a coach, we both have coaches. We pay lots of money to
And
our
my coaches have coaches.
and coaches have coaches. And anybody that it's like, don't think of it as a weakness. Think of it as, a shorter path to where you want to go, because they're going to help you get from where you want to be to where you want to, where you are to where you want to be. And they're going to do it in a much more time efficient, cost efficient way than you would do trying to figure it out. So you don't got this. That's what I tell people.
Nobody got this. And if you think
got
you got
this.
it, you really don't got it. Smart people hire smart people to help them get smarter. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're not meant to do life alone. We actually physically were not made to do life alone. Our brains were not made to do life alone. And this is how you grow and this is how you learn. So hiring a coach, you're fast tracking. So you're actually smarter. So you're not like, weak because you hire a coach. You're actually pretty strong because you hire a coach, and you're going to go much faster. Anyone who knows me, I like to get things done, and I like to get them done now. And I like to do it until it's completed and it's done right. Not that it needs to be perfect, but I like getting things done, and I like doing it efficiently, and I like doing it to the best of my ability. And I know what I'm capable of, and I'll keep doing something until I know I have it right, because I know what I'm capable of. Right. So that was really huge and significant. It's funny because my coach, I hired some business coaches to help, because I knew it was my gut instinct, but I also knew that I needed to learn things to get where I wanted to be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So my coach on one coaching session, he's like, why do you not you need a podcast? Why do you not have a podcast? I'm like, why would I have a podcast? That's weird. And he's like, what? Oh, you don't see what I see. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it. And he's like, wow, you really don't see the person that I see. And I'm like, my husband tells me this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My friends tell me this all the time. So it's just been a beautiful journey of like, oh, maybe I should have a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then really thinking about it. And now I have my own show called Shift Happens. And it's interesting because like you hear me being silly, and this is who I am. I'm not all dressed up for today because I'm a real person. I am who I am. And I can finally be the person. Like I can be silly and feel goofy and run into walls sober and not feel like an idiot like I used to, because I'm secure with who I am. They say as you start hitting 40, you start getting more secure in who you are. I think I'm definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
But
guess who's turning 40 this year?
I'm turning 40.
I don't even remember. That was a long time ago.
So it really took someone else. I mean, my husband's telling me for a long time, someone else to see me before I saw me. So I just want to encourage you guys, if people are telling you something over and over and over again, whether it's good or bad, you may want to lean in, because that could be your doorway to either healing, growing, if it's something that's negative, or it could be a doorway for your future. And how many times do you guys want to shut the doors in your future? I would hope it's none. But if you don't look into the doorway that people are giving you and really take a leap and step in, you could be saying no to an entire legacy that you're leaving for yourself and your family. If it wasn't for me joining network marketing, which is like, network marketing, I totally was like, I don't do network marketing. If I would have had that like stupid, naive, like before saying no to something I didn't know I was saying no to, then I wouldn't be sitting here with my husband. We wouldn't have partnered and created an incredible program that's going to blow the world away. It's already changing hundreds and hundreds of lives. I wouldn't be on this Zoom. Good God, I wouldn't be on the Zoom talking in front of people. It's like just, it's so frustrating when people say no to things where it's like, wow, this could really open doors,
Yeah. I think, the big takeaways as we bring this cruise ship into port, and end this journey, and we could go on, but it's just, I think the big takeaway is, if opportunity is knocking, make sure you at least listen to the person on the other side of the door. And like Tony Robbins tells a story, when he was growing up, that changed his life, with somebody that brought his family Thanksgiving dinner, and his father was too proud, closed the door in the guy's face. The guy put his foot in the door and said, you may be too proud, but think about your family and your kids. And he basically forced the door open, and that inspired Tony Robbins. Like that put a seed in his DNA that he was going to pay it forward and pay it back. And he's fed over 1 billion people with his Feeding America campaign. So the point is, and I want to touch briefly on the fact that Hollie walking into fulfillment. If you're in a relationship, and it could be a spouse, a partner, or a really good friendship or a business relationship, I can tell you when both sides, and we got to talk about this on another show that we were invited to, but when both people in a relationship are walking in fulfillment, it's like magnetic. When one side's in fulfillment and the other one's not, that's a magnet. If you know magnets, like magnetism, when they're facing, the polar ends are opposite, they attract. Like, that's what I mean by fulfillment. When one is fulfilled and the other one's not, they're facing away, it doesn't attract. When both aren't in fulfillment, it doesn't attract. But when both are, it's like bam. So embrace opportunities. If you're not consciously thinking, if you're not fulfilled in what you're doing, it doesn't have to be your job. I want to point that out, because your job can provide financial security, but fulfillment doesn't necessarily have to be from your job. It could come from something else. Be appreciative and thankful that you have a job and you have that financial security, but you can seek fulfillment in something else. And so maybe you could just bring it on home for us with what you walking into your fulfillment, how that's changed. I can say as a husband, it's just like, I didn't feel like I changed, but I just felt her magnetic attraction to me was much more significant because she was walking in fulfillment. And now we both are in fulfillment, and it's just easy, the relationship wise. So bring it on home for us.
It's interesting. It's like I like your point when you just said that your job, okay, let's say you have a job that you don't like, right? And there's really no way out of it. You can actually find fulfillment in that job and appreciate the things about that job, right? So this whole I have to do things for me, and just, like that entitlement, we don't want people to walk away and say, well, I am entitled to being happy all the time. We all know that the happiness comes before success, right? So we talked about that previously. But finding the joy in the storms is powerful, but also just living in your purpose and walking into that. And if you have an opportunity to grow and become the person you are meant to be, it's probably going to be really hard. It's probably going to be really difficult, and you're going to fall down a lot, but it's worth it, because our relationship has grown so much. And I would hope, like, you have changed, obviously, over the past 17. I would hope you've changed over the past 17 years. You've grown a lot as a person. But over the past 3 years, my resentment towards you has gone down a lot. And we are coming a lot more together, especially with our purposes and our purpose in life. We're able to do life together, and the growth that we've gone through this whole change. But it's pretty significant when you start stepping into your purpose, because it just feels right. It just feels right. And then you don't have to work so hard. Now, if all these doors are closing, it's probably closing for a reason. But it creates a lot of significance in yourself, but also those around you. Did you know that by changing the things about yourself that that are broken, that need to mend or heal, or walking in your truth, walking in your life, however you want to put it, do you know that that can actually dramatically help others around you? Like, help your entire family? Like, I don't even get as mad at the kids as I used to. My relationships all around are better. So my family relationships, my husband relationship, my friend relationships, and just my excitement for life. I've always been a happy person, but just my, like, what's my purpose here? And like my life purpose, my life goal, it's so big now. Like, I can dream so much bigger because I know that I'm living in my purpose. And I feel like right now, it's just like the sky's the limit, man. Like, how many people can we help? The sky's the limit, because we're living in our purpose and our fulfillment. So I hope that was bringing it on home for you. I'm really passionate about this part of finding your purpose, and ours is to help to help the one starfish. If you haven't heard the starfish story, and Matt and I happen to have the same purpose, and we live it out differently, and that's what's beautiful. Puzzle pieces were never meant to look the same. They were meant to be different, but fit together. And that's where I feel like my husband and I's strengths and weaknesses are very beautiful. So when you have a marriage, and your marriage is you guys are opposite, or you're different, just remember, puzzle pieces were meant to be different for a reason, because they're meant to fit together. So maybe we can do a relationship one, because I've got a lot of really good relationship analogies.
Yeah.
But
we
just
need to do one on puzzles and magnets.
Puzzles and magnets.
So
But I hope this was powerful for someone. It's not about me. It's actually about watching a regular person, regular girl next door who grew up with buck teeth and frizzy hair and didn't look anything like this, to really walking into who God made her and understanding that it's going to be hard. And you're not here alone. You've got an entire community to help you, Triumph Nation community, and just walking that purpose because it's worth it.
Amen. And whether you're watching this live or you watch the replay or you watch it on our YouTube, Triumph Nation TV, we hopefully this does have impact and somebody, even if it affects and connects with one person, that's why we exist. And it's always the ones, and God takes care of the zeros.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our mission of impact. And it's been really fun interviewing my wife, and hopefully you guys
can I show you guys my shirt? Oh, it's backwards. Should, could, would, did. Should, could, sorry. Should, would, could, can't, did.
There you go. I was gonna. Do you want me to read it for you?
Yes. I don't like reading for people. Like I've got hives.
Yes, but if you find value and you connected with this, and maybe we're big on the ripple effect and paying it forward, maybe you can share it with somebody or invite them into the Facebook group Triumph Nation for Purpose-Driven People, and so that we can have the opportunity to connect with them and maybe have a chance to move them forward into fulfillment. And so thank you, Hollie, for being such a great co-host today. And I have to go coach a class, and exciting for that. And we will see you next week on the Triumph Nation live show. And y'all have a great rest of your evening or day or weekend whenever you're watching this. We love you guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Mama,
Yes, I know.
can you make me a quesadilla?